Okay, a little background info and update on the Navy SEALs in distress thing that James Yeager had posted, and some people are posting some ignorant comments. I'm sure not everybody, but has the time to explain everything on that. I have a little bit of background information to offer because I used to work the casino and resort security circuit in California back in the 1990s, and I kind of understand the politics of it a little better than probably most of the other viewers would. I could grab my deck of cards, but basically, it's one of the career paths a lot of veterans take, where a lot of California's laws. When you're outside of California, you hear about California gun laws. A lot of their other laws are basically the Wild West. Okay, it's basically the Wild West in a lot of stuff. And Madera County is what we would call kind of middle of nowhere. Okay, that's one of the remote areas in California. California has almost every possible climate, every possible type of terrain, from desert to snow-capped mountains that look just like Switzerland. Okay, California has it all. California, I think it was the eighth largest economy in the world. If it were its own country, would be equal to Germany. So it's big place with a lot going on. In spite of the fact that gun laws are there, there's still a lot of action. The other thing that everybody figured out was a workaround on a lot of stuff was that if you get the proper deck of cards, different authorizations and certifications, then it gets a little more Wild West. And that's where these Navy SEALs were working the casino security circuit and the tribal police circuit, because tribal politics is all over the map, and there's a lot of gray areas of jurisdiction in there. And those gray areas of jurisdiction change constantly with case law. The Bureau of Indian Affairs, or whatever the modern equivalent to that, it changes constantly with case law. Generally speaking, it's this weird mix of federal and state, and it goes with different levels of agreements between tribal authorities and county, municipal, state, and so there's a lot of players involved. In the 1990s, when they got a couple of court decisions which allowed for the construction for gambling on reservations, nobody knew how far it was going to go. They weren't sure if it was just going to involve Indian lottery tickets, or whether they were going to open up a little bit of gaming, and then we went to full-fledged casinos. I was involved in some levels on the ground floor of that, but you might have guessed I didn't get in on the good money, and that was for several different reasons. Part of it was I was young, I didn't have the money to invest in becoming a real player on that, and to have any loyalty at all of those people. You had to be pretty much with one of the right tribal families, which I wasn't. I'm not even part Native American, or mob with pretty serious backing. And in the mafia world, California is considered Switzerland in the mafia world. Anybody can do business. It's not divided up and turfed the way things are back east. So when I met mob guys who were setting up shop in California, they were mostly from back east. The Reno, Vegas crowd and all that kind of stuff. They pretty much control the Reno Vegas crowd. And so when you get into a casino in California that would be on an Indian reservation, the people running it may actually all be from Atlantic City. They may be somewhere else. In a lot of respects, the Indians weren't necessarily running their own casinos. They hired that out. So they hire that out, and then they extort as much money as they possibly can from the people who are running a casino. And there's always this back and forth thing of which Indians are going to be paid off more than others, which tribal leaders are going to be supported in elections, and if they get pissed off, they start killing people. They start shooting places up. They'll shoot up the parking lot. They'll shoot up the hotel. And you can't get major hardcore on them. It's basically, okay, who do we pay off? And on the other hand, sometimes they're into going after each other, and they they don't want to be in a position of I mean it's really complex with those people. And one of the things that will commonly happen is they want to hire outside talent for security. And so there's kind of an ongoing thing with that, because a lot of these people really are under threat. And they have the money. They have the money to hire outside talent. Under those types of circumstances, they're also going to try and hire some level of authority. And when somebody's working the security and law enforcement and for hire detective type stuff in California, there's a deck of cards you gotta have. And generally speaking, the new generation of veterans has gotten on board with that because it's employment that's available to them. And in the early 90s, it was still pretty much, that market was still pretty much owned by the Vietnam vets when I was in that. And so I kind of worked on a lower end, but being a former Marine and I had the infantry background, and I went and I got the security certifications. I worked around some of that stuff. The other thing was there was a little bit of family history that I was able to kind of cash in on to some degree with some of the people. One of my great grandparents had well, he kind of worked with the Italians back during Prohibition, so. That was a little thing, but I can't just go and ask somebody for a briefcase of money. It's kind of like, oh, you're part of the has-been crowd. Yeah, okay, your great-great-grandparents, whatever. So what happened in those situations is I worked around a lot of that stuff in Lake County, California, and when the Indian Wars were going on. And let me tell you, when those people start going at each other, anything goes, okay? It can be nasty. I worked at one casino for a little while, and they just didn't pay me. You know, they would come through, some tribal guy makes a deal with another tribal guy, and I was undercharging, I think, as a security consultant, and because I was undercharging, they didn't have any respect for me. And it was all about respect with these guys, and all about what they wanted. And what they really wanted was somebody who was really fucking dangerous and scary to scare the other people, and that sort of thing. I had a reputation at the time with certain things, but I also didn't want to come across as a super scary guy with people and draw heat that way. And that wasn't what they wanted to hire. So, if they want to hire a bunch of tough guy Navy SEALs and all that kind of stuff, that was them. If they could hire a bunch of tough guy ex-convicts, they would, and in some cases they do. There's some interesting nuances in California law which actually allow for that. The thing is, it gets into another gray area when somebody's actually badged as tribal police, because then there's certain federal standards that come into that. And that's where these Navy SEALs were working. And we're working under tribal police authority, which has a bunch of gray areas in it. And the thing is, there's also, in a legal defense, there is good faith, in a lot of this stuff. In California, actually has a fair amount of things in the law, which some people would call a vigilante state, where, if there's good faith, there's righteous in that. We look at the O.J. Simpson case, where he got convicted of stuff in Nevada, kidnapping and robbery, for ambushing somebody in a hotel room with his bodyguards. They ambushed somebody who was trying to sell luggage that had been stolen from him 20 years earlier. Under California law, any of his bodyguards, who were hired guns, weren't fully familiar with the differences between California and Nevada law, everything they had done would have been legal in California, although it was illegal in Nevada. And of course, O.J. Simpson serving time for that. In this situation at the Indian reservation, you get a bunch of gray area stuff. But what's happening is, I guess, this group of veterans who were working as tribal police during a transition period when one group is getting their authority either voted out or taken away or done something by the tribal council, they're trying to keep the casino open because as long as the casino's, the spice must flow, right? As long as that thing's running, there's money spread around. But don't forget, there were people who would rather turn the reservations back into a shithole that they can control versus a hub of wealth that they don't control. That's basic third world politics. So what happened is these guys went to recover a bunch of accounting and casino records, which another court had told them was necessary to keep that open. And somebody at some point is considering that to be an illegal act, so they were in jail. And because of their background, apparently a bunch of these guys are being treated pretty roughly in jail. Unfortunately, it's a common thing in California. Veterans in California, anybody with any kind of a status and that type of stuff, the prison guards, the jail guards feel it's necessary to establish dominance and control. And you got to realize those guys are full-time martial artists. Okay, they don't learn how to use it. If they do sniper rifle stuff, that's on their own. These guys are full-time martial artists. There's a lot of rules about steroids and stuff that don't necessarily apply to them. They're full-time martial artists. So we're hearing that one of these SEALs got his jaw broken and throat cut. You also realize that they're dealing with people who aren't going to play fair. I mean, they'll cuff somebody up and then fuck them up. That's how they roll. And whether or not they threw somebody alone in a cell where they were outnumbered, there's a scene in the episode of Sons of Anarchy called Laying Pipe, the scene where Opie dies. That's all based on reality. That kind of stuff does happen in California. It's set up like that. That's how those people roll. And it doesn't matter how tough you are, they'll just come up with more guys in a more unfair situation. That's what they do. So whether or not these guys are in danger while in custody, there are different ways of dealing with that. One of the things that we have to point out, though, is that, Yeager and Friends also includes a bunch of attorneys. And those guys probably, if somebody cares, go to work, all right? I'm not going to say against opening wallets with regards to a defense fund or bail fund, but we also have to realize that in these situations, there's something else we call that, and that's called paying ransom. And when we go straight to paying ransom in a rough and tumble Wild West situation, we might be sending the wrong message. Okay, it might be sending the wrong message when it comes to paying ransom, and that's what bail is in those situations. It's a ransom payment. Let's not say it's anything else. If somebody is eligible to be released from jail on their own recognizance and say, hey, you got to make a court date, they make a court date. When somebody's setting up ransom demands and ransom payments on these situations that are astronomical, you got to resist that and you got to fight that. So I think in other respects, the other thing is to focus on either greatly reducing the bail or an own recognizance type situation. Ransom is not necessarily the way you want to roll with these people. I've been in some situations where the consequences were dire, and I gave instructions: do not pay ransom. Okay, I put myself on a line when it comes to those types of situations where my family will not pay ransom. I will not pay ransom. When something happens and there was a certain situation, I guess I don't know about talking about it online, but several people know about. And it involved a situation where a riot squad had to extract my arm from around some asshole's neck. We had no intention of paying ransom. Okay. So if you guys want to get involved with, this guy's defense fund or their situation, go right ahead. But also realize that there are some factions in that have the money to pay for whatever trouble they paid their guys to get into. And we should probably get a few more facts out of it too. Because it's Wild West, but these guys were hired to do a job that they probably thought was legal. And given the gray area with tribal police authority and all these types of things, it's Wild West.